Part 1. Submarine Interior. The setup. You've seen the headlines. A submarine disappears under the ocean, and then it's just gone. No distress call. No signal. No trace. Now imagine this. You're inside one. Not a tourist sub. Ocean pressure outside that could crush a truck like a soda can. A nuclear-powered submarine, 300 meters below the surface. Steel walls around you. Ocean pressure outside that could crush a truck like a soda can. And here's the part nobody tells you. You can't leave. Not quickly. Not safely. Not at all. Because inside this machine, every room is built with one assumption. You are staying. Part 2. Space and structure. Modern nuclear submarines, like the US Navy's Virginia class or Russia's Borai class, they are around 15 to 170 meters long. That's longer than a football field. They weigh between 7,800 and 24,000 tons submerged. But what matters isn't the size. It's how that space is used. Every square meter is engineered. Every corridor has a purpose. There are no empty rooms. There is no wasted air. So let's walk through it, from the front to the very back, because once you understand what's inside, you'll understand why leaving isn't really an option. Part 3. Torpedo Room. We start at the very front. The torpedo room, officially called the forward compartment. This is where the submarine fights. A typical Virginia-class submarine carries 25 weapons, Mk-48 torpedoes, Tomahawk missiles, sometimes naval mines. Each Mk-48 torpedo weighs about 1,700 kilograms. Range, around 50 kilometers. Speed, over 55 knots, about 100 kilometers, underwater. And yes, they're stored right next to where sailors sleep. Literally. Part 4. Living conditions. Space is tight. So tight that torpedoes double as furniture. Sailors sleep in racks, basically narrow beds, stacked 3 high. In older submarines, you'd have hot bunking, meaning shared beds on rotating shifts. One sleeps while another works. No privacy, no silence, just metal and machinery. You wake up with a torpedo 6 inches from your face, and after a week, you stop noticing. That's when you know you've adapted or lost perspective. Part 5. Torpedo launch. Now, firing one of these isn't like launching a missile from land. First, the outer door opens. Seawater floods the tube. Pressure equalizes. Then compressed air ejects the torpedo. Not explodes. Ejects. Only after it clears the submarine does the engine ignite. Because lighting a propulsion system inside your own ship is a terrible idea. One mistake here, and it's over. Part 6. Control room. Move back a few meters, and you reach the brain. The control room. This is where the submarine lives or dies. Modern nuclear submarines are digital ecosystems. The Virginia class replaced periscopes with photonic masts. High-resolution cameras mounted on telescoping arms. These feed real-time video to screens inside the control room. So instead of one officer looking through a tube, the entire crew can see the surface. Clearer, safer, smarter.
Part 7. Sonar.
But the most important sense down here isn't sight. It's sound. Sonar. Submarines don't see enemies. They listen for them. A modern sonar system can detect ships hundreds of kilometers away. It picks up propeller noise, engine vibrations, even electrical hums. Each vessel has an acoustic signature, like a fingerprint. Operators memorize these. It's not guessing. It's recognition. Part 8. Movement. Driving a submarine isn't like steering a ship. You're not just moving forward. You're moving in 3 dimensions. Up, down, forward, back. Depth is controlled by ballast tanks. They fill with water to sink. They blow air to rise. Change depth too fast. You risk structural stress. Too slow, you become predictable. Balance is everything. Part 9. Reactors. Now we move into the most dangerous part, the reactor compartment. This is what makes it nuclear. A pressurized water reactor is the heart. It uses uranium fuel rods to generate heat through fission. That heat turns water into steam. Steam spins turbines. Turbines generate electricity and propulsion. Simple in theory, terrifying in practice. A single reactor can operate for 33 years without refueling. No gas, no air needed. Which means one thing. This submarine can stay underwater for months. The only limit, food. Part 10. Life support and isolation. About 130 to 140 crew members live here. They eat constantly. A submarine carries roughly 90 days of food. At the start, every space is packed with supplies. Fresh food goes first, then canned goods, then frozen supplies. By day 70, you're eating whatever's left. Living space is minimal. No windows, no sunlight. Time becomes abstract. After weeks, you forget what the outside feels like. Part 11. Air and survival. Air is generated on board through electrolysis, splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen feeds the crew. Hydrogen is vented. Carbon dioxide is removed using scrubbers. If these fail, you don't suffocate immediately, but slowly. Headaches, confusion, then blackout, and there's nowhere to go. Part 12. Risk and reality. Every compartment is sealed by watertight doors. In emergencies, sections are isolated. But isolation means trapping whatever is inside. Fire, flooding, radiation leaks, short decisions, hard consequences. Noise is constant, a low, endless hum. Sleep becomes a skill. At 300 meters, pressure is 30 times surface level. If the hull fails, it's instant implosion. Misalignments. No warning, no escape. Part 13. Escape and ending. There is, technically, a way out. An escape trunk, a chamber to equalize pressure and reach the surface, but it only works at shallow depth. And even then, it's dangerous. Rapid ascent causes decompression sick. Survival isn't guaranteed. It never is. Now imagine silent running. Lights dim to red. You whisper, because another submarine might be listening. And if they hear you first, they don't knock. That's the front half of the submarine. And this is just the beginning. Part 1. Propulsion and movement. Now we move deeper, past the reactor, past the control room, into the part that actually makes this machine move. The propulsion section. This is where raw nuclear energy turns into motion. Quiet, controlled, and almost impossible to detect. Here's how it works. The reactor heats water to produce high-pressure steam around 300 Zekus under enormous pressure. That steam drives turbines spinning at thousands of RPM. Those turbines are connected to a reduction gear, because spinning at 3000 RPM is great for power, but terrible for stealth. So it slows down, transfers torque, and drives the shaft. At the end of that shaft, either a traditional propeller or something much more advanced. Part 2. Pump jet and noise. The pump jet, used on submarines like the British Astute class and many modern US boats. Instead of an exposed propeller, the blades are enclosed inside a duct. Water is pulled in, accelerated, and pushed out in a controlled stream. Why does that matter? Because noise is death underwater. A traditional propeller creates cavitation, tiny bubbles that collapse violently and make noise. A pump jet reduces that, not eliminates, but reduces. And in submarine warfare, quieter usually wins. No drama, just silence. A Russian Akula-class submarine produces around 110 to 120 decibels of noise at speed. A modern Virginia-class, estimated below 95 decibels in certain conditions. That difference doesn't sound huge. It is, because underwater, sound travels about 1500 meters per second, almost 5 times faster than in air. Even small noise reductions dramatically shrink your detection range. Less noise, less chance of being found. Part 3. Human control and reactor risk. But this section isn't empty. Engineers, real people, work here constantly, monitoring temperatures, pressures, vibration levels. You don't run a reactor. You babysit it every second, because the moment you relax, it reminds you who's in charge. That's the relationship, human versus machine, and the machine never gets tired. There's also something called a scram. Emergency shutdown. If something goes wrong, coolant loss, overheating, system fault, the control rods drop into the core, instantly absorbing neutrons and stopping the nuclear reaction. In theory, it's safe. In reality, a scram in combat can leave you drifting. No propulsion, limited power, and if you're being hunted, that's not a situation you want to be in. Part 4. Shaft, noise and stealth. From here, power flows down the shaft, a long reinforced metal rod running almost the entire submarine. It spins constantly. Even slight imbalance, just a few millimeters off, can create detectable vibrations. So it's precision engineered, balanced, tuned, maintained. Because again, noise is death. Now let's talk about stealth. Not just quiet propulsion, but the skin of the submarine itself. Modern submarines are covered in anechoic tiles, rubber-like panels designed to absorb sonar waves. Enemy sonar hits the hull. Instead of bouncing back clearly, it scatters, weakens, disappears. Think of it like soundproof foam in a recording studio, but designed to fool military-grade detection systems. And yes, these tiles fall off sometimes. Salt water, pressure, wear, even stealth needs maintenance. Part 5. Vertical Launch Weapons. Now we go back to weapons, but a different kind. Vertical launch systems. Unlike torpedoes, these missiles launch straight up. A Virginia-class submarine can carry 12 vertical launch tubes, each capable of firing a Tomahawk cruise missile. Range, about 1,600 kilometers. Warhead, around 450 kilograms. You could be sitting quietly in the ocean and strike a target on land hundreds of kilometers away without ever being seen. That's power projection, the ability to hit far without immediate danger. Tomahawks aren't dumb weapons. They fly low, terrain following. Using GPS and onboard maps, they can change course mid-flight. Some versions even loiter waiting for a target. It's not just a missile, it's a decision system. Part 6. Maintenance and failure. Now here's something most people don't think about. Maintenance. Every pipe, every valve, every wire needs to work because you're not pulling over to fix things. You're underwater, isolated, alone. A small leak becomes a big problem. A failed pump could mean overheating. Everything is redundant. Backup systems for backup systems. But redundancy isn't perfection. Things still fail. And when they do, there's no space. You fix it where you stand, crawling through tight compartments, sometimes with tools barely fitting your hands. No room for error, no second attempt. Just fix it now. Part 7. Silent running in combat. Let's go back to silent running. This is where everything comes together. Engines reduced to minimum output, non-essential systems off, crew barely moving. Even cooking is limited because noise travels. You become a ghost. Floating in darkness, listening, waiting. Then a contact appears. A faint blip on sonar. Could be a ship, could be a whale, could be another submarine. You don't know yet, but they might know you. This is the moment where everything matters. Your noise level, your depth, your speed, every decision. Because if they identify you first, they act first, and underwater, first usually wins. Part 8. Torpedo threat and damage. A torpedo doesn't give warnings. Modern ones like the MK-4880 Seacap track targets using sonar. They don't just go straight. They hunt, adjust course, predict movement. Once launched, it's already thinking, and if it locks onto you, options are limited. You deploy countermeasures, decoys that mimic your acoustic signature. They create noise, confuse the torpedo. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And if you're hit, compartment seal. Damage control teams respond. Fire, flooding, system failures. Every crew member has a role. No panic, no hesitation. Training takes over because panic kills faster than water. Part 9. The reality. Now here's the AHA moment. Submarines aren't about power. They're about survival. In an environment that wants you dead every second. Everything inside exists for one purpose. To delay failure. Not prevent it forever. Delay it. Because eventually, something always goes wrong. That's the hidden truth. You're not just fighting opponents. You're fighting physics, pressure, isolation, time. So which part matters most?
The reactor.
The weapons? The stealth systems? Honestly, none of them alone. Because a submarine isn't a collection of parts. It's a balance. Remove one piece, and everything collapses. Too loud, you're detected. Too slow, you're tracked. One system fails, others compensate until they can't. It's a machine built on the edge of failure, always. And that's why you can't escape it. Not easily, not quickly. Because the moment you leave the system, you enter something worse. The open ocean. Cold, dark, crushing. So you stay inside. Trust the machine, trust the crew, and hope nothing breaks. Because down there, hope isn't a strategy. It's all you have.